You're standing in a crowded room, laughter bubbling around you like champagne. A colleague cracks a joke about the absurdity of modern life, and the group erupts. You force a smile, but inside, your mind churns with questions they'd call too intense. What if none of this matters? What if our rituals of small talk and status games are just elaborate distractions from the void? You open your mouth to speak, then stop. Their eyes glaze over before you utter a word. This is the curse no one warns you about. Intelligence isn't a superpower, it's a silent exile. The smarter you are, the more you see the cracks in reality, the lies we tell to keep society intact. The more you understand, the fewer people can tolerate your presence. History whispers this truth in blood-stained ink. Socrates drank hemlock for asking too many questions. Hypatia, the mathematician who mapped the stars, was flayed alive with oyster shells for threatening dogma. Alan Turing, who cracked the Nazi Enigma code, was chemically castrated for being different. Society doesn't crucify deep thinkers because they're wrong. It crucifies them because they're right too soon. But why? Why does the mere act of seeing clearly trigger such visceral rejection? Why do we worship intelligence in theory, but exile it in practice? The answer lies in a paradox so unsettling it redefines what it means to be human. The smarter you become, the more you threaten the illusions that hold civilization together. Picture a candle flame in a pitch-black cathedral. At first, its glow is comforting, a beacon of warmth in the dark, but stare too long, and the shadows it casts twist into grotesque shapes on the walls. The same flame that illuminates also distorts. This is the double-edged sword of intelligence. To see reality clearly is to expose the collective hallucinations we call normal life. The unspoken agreements to pretend money matters, time is linear, and happiness can be bought. Most people cling to these illusions like life rafts. They need to believe the game has meaning. But the deep thinker? They're the heretic who points out the raft is made of paper. Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century philosopher who called intelligence a curse, understood this dynamic intimately. While his peers wrote flowery treatises on reason's glory, he penned this brutal truth. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. The genius doesn't just answer questions, they dismantle the entire framework in which questions are asked. And that terrifies people. Consider the last time someone said you were overcomplicating things. What they meant was, stop pulling threads. The tapestry is fraying, but the tapestry was always frayed. The deep thinker simply notices. Here's the psychological trap. Human brains evolved not to seek truth, but to avoid existential panic. Neuroscientists at University College London found that when confronted with challenging ideas, the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, shuts down, while the amygdala, the primal fear center, flares like a warning siren. Intelligence isn't just rejected, it's felt as a threat. This explains why you can walk into a party and sense the mood shift when you mention Kierkegaard's "life must be lived forwards but understood backwards." It's not the words that unsettle them, it's the unspoken realization. If this person is right, everything I've built my life upon is fragile. Schopenhauer called it the horror of the abyss. The deeper you gaze into life's mysteries, the more the abyss gazes back, and the more others resent you for describing what you see. But there's a darker layer. The exile of intelligence isn't accidental, it's necessary. Civilization runs on agreed-upon delusions, what Jung termed the collective unconscious. Money, national borders, the 9-to-5 grind. These are fictions, but we treat them as sacred. The intelligent mind? It's a bull in this china shop of illusions. Every insight, every "but why" chips away at the fragile consensus. So, society strikes back, not with pitchforks now, but subtler weapons, awkward silences, condescending smiles. You're too serious. The message is clear. Fall in line or be alone forever. Yet the cruelest twist? The deeper you think, the more you crave connection. But the connection you seek transcends petty gossip and viral trends. You hunger for conversations that crack open reality, dialogues that leave you trembling with revelation. Instead, you're handed TikTok debates and AI-generated small talk. This is the great unspoken tragedy of intelligence. The more you understand, the more incomprehensible you become.
By now, you're either nodding in grim recognition or squirming in denial. That's the point. This isn't abstract philosophy. It's a live wire hooked to your central nervous system. Every time you bit your tongue to keep the peace, every time you dulled your thoughts to fit in, you felt it, the slow death of authenticity. Schopenhauer called it the torture of being truly awake in a world that prefers to sleepwalk. But here's the question that will haunt you. Is this exile a prison, or a backdoor to freedom? The answer lies in the shadows ahead. You've felt it your whole life, the faint hum of dissonance beneath every interaction, every ritual, every unquestioned rule. It's in the way laughter dies when you mention the futility of hustle culture. In the way lovers flinch when you wonder aloud whether monogamy is evolutionary or existential. You thought it was you. A flaw. A failure to lighten up. But what if the flaw isn't in you, but in reality itself? Schopenhauer's answer cuts like a scalpel. Intelligence terrifies society because it exposes the lie at civilization's core, that life has inherent meaning. His concept of the will, a blind, ceaseless force driving all human behavior, reveals the machinery behind the masquerade. Most people are marionettes of the will, chasing pleasure, status, and survival without asking why. The intelligent? They're the few who turn and see the strings. And society hates them for it. Let's dissect the rot. Your brain didn't evolve to seek truth. It evolved to avoid extinction. For 300,000 years, fitting in meant survival. Questioning the tribe's myths about gods, enemies, or rituals risked exile. Death. Modern society is just a high-tech tribe. Its myths are subtler: careers, democracy, TikTok fame, but the stakes remain: conform or perish. Carl Jung saw this in his theory of the collective unconscious. Beneath our polished modernity, he argued, lurks a primordial soup of archetypes and shared delusions. These aren't mere stories, they're psychological survival tools. Money isn't just currency, it's a shared hallucination of security. Borders aren't just lines, they're fictions to ward off the terror of chaos. When the intelligent point out the illusion, it's not just critique, it's heresy. But why does heresy trigger rage, not curiosity? Enter Nietzsche's will to power. The philosopher who declared God dead understood that all human systems, religion, science, even morality, are tools to control reality. When a deep thinker dismantles these systems, they're not just sharing ideas. They're disarming the guards at the prison gates. And the inmates? They'll fight to stay captive. Consider the 1953 Asch conformity experiments. Participants were shown lines of obviously different lengths, yet 75% agreed with a group's blatantly wrong answer to avoid standing out. Now imagine this instinct scaled to civilization. We don't just prefer lies, we need them. Schopenhauer called this the human condition, a pendulum swinging between pain and boredom. The masses numb themselves with distractions, pain avoided. The intelligent? They stare into the void, pain embraced. This is why your midnight existential spirals terrify coworkers. You've stopped swinging. You've stepped off the pendulum. But the rot goes deeper. Neuroscience reveals that challenging beliefs literally hurts. A Yale study found that when subjects' core views are threatened, the brain's insula, responsible for physical pain, activates. Intelligence isn't just rejected, it's felt as a threat akin to a knife wound. This explains why Galileo's telescope was deemed demonic, why Darwin's fossils were called Satan's hoax. It's not ignorance. It's self-defense. When you question someone's worldview, you're not debating ideas. You're holding a mirror to their cognitive dissonance, and the reflection is a death threat to their ego. Schopenhauer's darkest insight? The intelligent aren't just feared, they're envied. Most people sense, however faintly, that they're sleepwalking. When they encounter someone truly awake, someone who traded the comfort of delusion for the torment of clarity, it ignites a vicious envy. Not for the intelligence itself, but for the courage to face reality naked. This is why geniuses are often posthumously celebrated. Van Gogh's sunflowers, Kafka's nightmares, Turing's code-breaking, all were despised in their time. Society can only love its rebels once they're safely dead, their ideas defanged into slogans for coffee mugs. Viktor Frankl glimpsed this in Auschwitz. Those who maintained a why to live, a shred of meaning, survived. But what happens when intelligence erodes all whys? When you see through religion, capitalism, even love? This is the existential quicksand the masses sense in you. Your mere presence whispers, your gods are false. Your dreams are dust. Your life is a flicker in an indifferent cosmos. No wonder they look away. Yet here's the cruelest twist: society's rejection of intelligence is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more thinkers are ostracized, the more they retreat into isolation, the realm of madness. Nietzsche went insane walking alpine paths, scribbling about Übermensch. Virginia Woolf filled her pockets with stones and walked into a river. Tesla died whispering to pigeons. We tell ourselves, see? Intelligence leads to ruin. But no, it's the exile that corrodes, not the intellect. Aldous Huxley saw this in Brave New World. The savage, who craved truth, was given two choices: exile to a barren island or assimilation into the Soma haze. Modern society offers the same: silence your mind, or be banished to the fringes. But why can't we imagine a third option? Because the system is rigged. Education trains obedience, not curiosity. Capitalism rewards conformity, not creativity. Even psychology pathologizes depth, ADHD, autism, depression, labels for minds that reject the hamster wheel. The message is clear: your intelligence is a disorder. Medicate it. Mute it. Pretend. Now you begin to see the scale of the trap. This isn't about society versus smart people. It's about a species-wide cognitive immune system attacking its own neurons. Schopenhauer's will, that blind life force, demands propagation, not truth. Intelligence, in its purest form, is anti-life. It asks, why propagate? Why suffer? Why exist? No wonder you're feared. You're the living embodiment of the will's greatest fear, itself. But as the cracks widen, as mental health crises spike and AI exposes the futility of busywork, the exiles are whispering. A question is spreading, virulent and unkillable. What if the intelligent aren't the problem, but the only ones who can see the solution? The answer will cost you everything. You've spent your life negotiating with a system that despises you, compromising your thoughts to fit office politics, sanding down your edges to avoid scaring lovers, apologizing for your depth like it's a stain. But what if I told you the exit door was hidden in plain sight? Not in some grand revolution, but in a quiet decision to stop playing the game. Schopenhauer saw it first: every man is imprisoned in his own consciousness. But he missed the corollary: the lock is on the inside. Let me show you how to turn the key. Picture Diogenes, the ancient philosopher who lived in a barrel. When Alexander the Great, the most powerful man on earth, approached him and said, "Ask anything of me," Diogenes didn't beg for gold or titles. He squinted up at the sun and growled, "Move. You're blocking my light." This is the first rule of rebellion: stop confusing survival with living. Society offers you a script: climb the ladder, buy the house, chase the dream. But the script is rigged. The ladder leans against a collapsing wall. The house is a dead prison. The dream? A dopamine loop sold by advertisers. The moment you reject the script, you become ungovernable. Not through rage, not through protest, but through the quiet, tectonic act of divesting. Galileo recanted under torture, whispering, "And yet it moves about Earth's rotation." Van Gogh painted starry nights while neighbors called him a madman. Alan Turing saved millions by cracking Enigma, only to be broken by the state. Their power didn't come from changing minds. It came from not needing minds to change. Here's the secret they tried to bury: your exile is a superpower. While others waste energy chasing approval, you're free to see reality raw, to ask questions that melt facades, to spot the cracks in the system's armor. Tesla envisioned alternating current and solitary walks. Nietzsche conceived the Übermensch in alpine isolation. Dickinson wrote 1,800 poems in a locked room, never seeking publication. Their genius wasn't despite the loneliness, it was fueled by it. Schopenhauer called it the privilege of the outcast. When you stop craving a seat at the table, you realize the table is rotting. When you stop begging for love, you notice the lovers are sleepwalking. But how do you weaponize this? First, learn to speak in tongues they can't censor. The system filters dissent through its binary traps: left versus right, science versus faith, capitalist versus socialist. Bypass the filters. When the church banned heliocentrism, Giordano Bruno spoke of infinite suns with infinite worlds, a truth wrapped in poetry. When Kafka dissected bureaucracy, he wrote about a man turning into a cockroach, truth cloaked in absurdity. Your thoughts are too dangerous in plain language. Encrypt them. Hide critiques of capitalism in a cooking blog. Bury existential questions in a romance plot. Let your Instagram captions quote Schopenhauer sideways: the candle that illuminates also casts shadows. Make them feel before they think. Second, build a hidden network. Not of people, of legacies. Hypatia taught mathematics to pagans, Christians, and Jews in Alexandria's library, a silent strike against division. Medieval monks smuggled forbidden knowledge and illuminated manuscripts' margins. Today's rebels use encrypted chats, pseudonymous blogs, TikTok allegories. Your allies aren't those who applaud you, they're the ones who recognize the code. Nietzsche wrote for readers not yet born. Dickinson stuffed poems into drawers for the fathomless future. You're drafting letters to a tomorrow only the brave will inherit. Third, turn pain into propulsion. Every time you're called too intense, every eye roll at your existential musings, every silent dinner where you choke on unspoken truths, collect those moments. Let them calcify into fuel. Van Gogh's loneliness birthed swirling stars. Turing's despair birthed computer science. Kafka's alienation birthed literary revolutions. Schopenhauer was right: the more intelligent a man is, the more misfortunes he sees. But he missed the inverse: the more misfortunes you see, the more power you amass to shatter them. Fourth, rewire the reward system. Society pays you in hollow coins, likes, promotions, nods of approval. Set your own currency. For Diogenes, wealth was sunlight. For Tesla, it was solving equations in his mind's theater. For you? Maybe it's the adrenaline of a truth finally spoken. The quiet euphoria of a journal page filled with heresies. The moment you stop trading depth for dopamine, you break the economy. Fifth, embrace the martyrdom you'll never see. Bruno was burned at the stake for declaring stars were suns. Centuries later, telescopes proved him right. Van Gogh died penniless, his starry night now hangs in palaces. Your victory isn't in being heard today. It's in etching truths so indelible, future exiles will find them like ancient runes and whisper, someone else saw. This is the rebellion's beating heart. The system exiles you to the fringes, unaware the fringes hold the master switch. While others chase promotions and proposals, you're mapping fault lines. While they scroll, you stalk the edges of consciousness. Schopenhauer's curse becomes your anthem. The more incomprehensible you are to the herd, the closer you are to the gods. But here's the final twist, the one that will carry us into the last chamber. The system's greatest weakness isn't its lies. It's that it needs you more than you need it. You wake to a world drowning in information yet starved of wisdom. Headlines scream breakthroughs in AI, quantum computing, and genetic engineering, while mental health crises, political polarization, and climate denial metastasize like tumors. This is no coincidence. It is the direct result of a civilization that worships intelligence on screens but murders it in flesh. The consequences of silencing deep thinkers are not abstract. They're etched into the collapsing bridges of your psyche and the burning forests of your world. Every time you bite back a radical thought to keep a job, a lover, a friend, you don't just betray yourself, you starve humanity of an antidote. Cognitive biases are the chains that make this possible. 1. Confirmation bias. the mind clings to familiar lies like a child to a blanket. When Galileo's telescope proved Earth wasn't the universe's center, theologians refused to look, declaring the device demonic. Modern minds do the same, scrolling past climate data to binge conspiracy theories. 2. Backfire effect. Challenge someone's worldview, and their brain recruits mental armies to fortify it. A 2022 MIT study found that correcting misinformation strengthens belief in it, a neuronal mutiny against truth. 3. Dunning-Kruger effect. The less people know, the more they trust their ignorance. Flat earthers, anti-vaxxers, and Instagram gurus thrive because doubt, the hallmark of intelligence, is seen as weakness. These biases aren't flaws. They're features of a mind engineered for tribal survival. But in the age of nuclear weapons and AI, they're suicide protocols. Your brain is a traitor. When you hear a fact that shatters your worldview, your insula, the pain center, fires as if you've been stabbed. Dopamine floods when you ingest familiar lies, a chemical reward for surrendering to the herd. UCLA researchers found that subjects who rejected factual evidence showed activity in the default mode network, the brain's autopilot for social conformity. Truth triggers literal cognitive dissonance, a war between prefrontal cortex rationality and limbic terror. This is why Nietzsche wrote, "Madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, it is the rule." Society doesn't just exile deep thinkers, it surgically removes the capacity for depth itself. Education. Schools train children to memorize answers, not question premises. A Stanford study found that 98% of kindergartners score as creative geniuses. By adulthood, just 2% remain. The system isn't broken, it's working perfectly. Media. Algorithms feed you content that confirms your biases, turning your mind into a recirculating sewer of outrage and trivia. TikTok reduces Kierkegaard's existential angst to 15-second slop, 5 signs you're overthinking. Work. Corporate culture pathologizes depth. Paralysis by analysis is a sin, move fast and break things a virtue. A 2023 Gallup poll found 87% of employees disengage at work, zombies shuffling through spreadsheets, terrified to ask, why? These structures aren't accidents. They's the immune system of a sick society attacking its last healthy cells. The casualties are everywhere, if you dare look. Personal. A 2024 Lancet study linked high IQ to a 300% increased risk of anxiety, depression, and insomnia. The intelligent don't overthink, they see. Every unspoken lie, every masked cruelty, every ticking clock towards societal collapse. Schopenhauer was right, the more intelligent a man is, the more misfortunes he sees. Relational. Your Tinder profile says you love travel and tacos, not stay up till 3 a.m. debating whether free will exists. Dates flee when you mention Baudrillard's hyperreality, friends glaze over at your critique of capitalism. Loneliness isn't your failure, it's the tax on clarity. Societal. Ancient Rome fell not from barbarian hordes but from lead pipes rotting its elites' brains. Modernity faces a parallel collapse, antibiotic-resistant superbugs, ignored until pandemics, AI ethics, dismissed until job apocalypses, climate thresholds, debated until cities sink. The pattern is clear, intelligence is shelved until it's needed to clean up disasters it predicted. Even now, your mind resists this. You're thinking, but I'm not special. I'm no Galileo or Van Gogh. That's the trap. Society has gaslit you into believing only geniuses deserve to question reality. But Schopenhauer's curse applies to anyone who peers behind the curtain, the college student who questions gender norms, the nurse who sees healthcare's inhumanity, the child who wonders why we eat pigs but pet dogs. The stakes? Jean-Paul Sartre called it bad faith, the sin of lying to yourself to fit in. Every time you swallow a truth to keep peace, you feed the collective delusion. Every silenced question is a brick in the wall between humanity and survival. You feel it, don't you? The tremor in your chest when you read about melting glaciers and AI overlords. The itch in your mind when you hear politicians reduce cosmic complexity to slogans. Schopenhauer's abyss isn't just staring back, it's breathing down your neck. But here's what they never told you. The same forces that exile deep thinkers also create them. Oppression breeds resistance. Censorship fuels curiosity. Every awkward silence you endure is a fossil record of the lies you've refused to speak. The system wants you numb, but your pain is a compass. Your alienation is a map. The question is no longer why does society fear intelligence? It's what will you sacrifice to save a world that hates you for trying? You've been asking the wrong question. This was never about why society fears intelligence. It's about why you fear your own. The late-night doubts. The self-censorship. The way you water down your thoughts like bitter wine. Schopenhauer called it the intellect's original sin, the guilt of seeing clearly in a world that profits from blindness. But here's the ultimate truth, the one that will unravel everything. Society doesn't fear intelligent people. It fears what intelligence reveals about itself. You've been the mirror all along. Picture a universe where light travels so slowly that shadows are eternal. Civilizations rise under the delusion that darkness is natural. Then one day, a child is born who sees light's true speed, who realizes shadows are just interruptions. The child tries to explain, but the elders banish them. Not because the child is wrong. Because the child makes the elders see their own chains. This is your role. Not martyr. Not prophet. Light-bearer. Schopenhauer's deepest insight wasn't about human folly, it was about cosmic irony. The will, he wrote, is a blind force that creates eyes to see itself, then recoils from the sight. You are those eyes. The will, that primal life force, birthed you to witness its own madness. To ask why we chase money, war, and vanity when stardust already swirls in our veins. But when you report back, the will screams. It burns libraries. It prescribes pills. It labels you neurodivergent to pathologize your sight. This is why you scare them, your evolution auditing itself. History's greatest heretics knew this secret. When Van Gogh painted Starry Night, he wasn't depicting skies. He was mapping the neural pathways of a mind too alive for its era. When Nietzsche wrote God is Dead, he wasn't attacking faith, he was mourning humanity's refusal to replace it with meaning. Their true crime? Proving that truth survives its executioners. But here's what even they missed. The exile isn't your sentence. It's your sanctuary. Think of the last time you bit your tongue. The dinner party where you swallowed a truth to keep peace. The job interview where you played dumb to seem relatable. Each act of self-betrayal wasn't just cowardice, it was sabotage of the sacred. Schopenhauer's curse was a misdiagnosis. The pain you feel isn't from seeing too much, it's from denying what you see. The migraine of censored thoughts. The nausea of forced laughter. The insomnia of a mind starved of authenticity. These aren't symptoms of intelligence. They're withdrawals from a lie. Let me show you the exit. Close your eyes. Imagine standing at the edge of Schopenhauer's abyss. The void that terrified him. Now, lean closer. Feel its breath, cold, electric, alive. That's not emptiness. It's the womb of creation. Every system that exiled you, education, capitalism, social media, is a paper fortress built over this abyss. They told you the void was death. But it's the source. Einstein tapped it when relativity struck him in a patent office. Dickinson when she locked herself in Amherst. Turing when he saw codes in falling leaves. The abyss isn't your enemy. It's your muse. Here's the final truth, the one that will either break or rebirth you. The world needs your exile. Not to punish you, to protect you. The herd devours anything that threatens its myths. By casting you out, society unwittingly preserves you. The lone wolf survives the hunt. The unplayed violin escapes the fire. Your isolation isn't failure. It's inoculation. Schopenhauer glimpsed this in his darkest hour. The genius is a cosmic accident, and accidents are how the universe corrects itself. You are that accident. The glitch in the will's program. The mutation evolution didn't foresee. the question mark etched into humanity's full stop. Every time you're called too much, too intense, too curious, too awake, hear it as a compliment. You are the overdose that might yet sober this drunk species. So let them call you mad. Let them dismiss you as arrogant, naive, or lost. While they're clutching their paper gods, you'll be charting the dark. And when their temples crumble, as temples always do, they'll find your footprints in the ash. Not as a conqueror, but as a witness who never looked away. The screen fades. The video ends. But you're just beginning.